Someone give me a tip. So we are live. Thank you so much, Edith, for creating time this evening. I think we've been like sisters in building these communities. We featured your story a couple of years ago. We have met, we have done events together, and now we are pushing for bigger things where we need our voices as Africans in the diaspora to be recognized in all what is happening between Germany and African countries. And that is why I decided it's important that you come out to the community and tell us about the summit, all those engagements that you have been pushing for. Some of us have lost a bit of trust with the embassies. So, but I can see you're really trying to push or to equip them, or even to bring that dialogue where we are able to communicate on the same platform. So karibu sana, thank you for creating time. For the ones who may not know you, just do a brief introduction and then we jump into the discussion.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a great privilege participating or being hosted in your platform today. And my name's Edith Otiende Lawani. I'm the director and co-founder of Giving Africa a New Face, an organization that is based here in Munich, Germany. And professionally, I'm a lawyer and a practitioner in the legal firm. But my main passion lies in creating the linkages between Germany and Africa, and also creating an enabling environment for the African diasporas that are here in Germany.
I love that statement. You are enabling that environment, because I think all of us can sense what is happening. There's a shortage of labor skills, among many others. And most of the times, the African-German agenda is implemented and we are not really involved. Yeah. So you have been pushing, you've done a lot. What is GAMF? Just take us through, maybe mention a few of the projects that you have done. And then now we jump into the summit so that at least people can now come for the summit in Berlin.
Now, well, as regarding the organization Giving Africa a New Face, it was officially founded in 2017. And the main founders having the background of coming from Africa for their further studies here in Germany. Now, our main platform of engagement was within the universities, and we could exchange our ideas on the experiences. And here is you coming those 17 years down the line was really a different situation than what we're having today. So you're coming from Africa and, going abroad with all these expectations that we had and the notions about the privileges of staying in the diaspora or the privileges of a white man, and then experiencing a totally different situation. We realize our expectations about the white man is totally different. There's nothing being given, yes, for free, and everything is just rich and fine, and you just all welcomed with open hands and come, finally, you're there. You have to fight your way through. And then we realized there's so many things that are actually not in place when it comes to the esteem for the African culture, African background, African voice, the African potential. You realize that the space is so much dominated by all these notions we have of Africa being underdeveloped, Africa being underprivileged. It's not yet developed. You hardly expect positive things to come from them. So this negative connotation affected us, because here's a case where you wanted your potential to be outstanding. You've made it, come abroad and you're studying here. You expect to be highly esteemed. You expect to be respected. You expect to be included in all these decision-making setups. But you realize whenever you find yourself in any space, most of the time, the spaces are dominated by these negative connotations about Africa. And therefore, we decided to rebrand Africa and create a different approach of what is the expectation that we have as regarding the Western world, but also what do we bring along with us? How do we want to be seen? How do we want to be appreciated also within these partnerships? And that was the genesis of Giving Africa a New Face. So we got engaged in different setups with diverse stakeholders. In 2017, we said we don't want to be engaged in different fields, and you always you just meet by chance. We want to give it now a structure, and then that was the birth of Giving Africa a New Face, that majorly concentrates on changing this narrative of the cooperations between Germany and Africa. It's not just one-sided of, changing the narrative of Africa. It also changes our expectation when you go into these partnerships between Africa and Germany.
Wow. I'm passionate about education because we live in a country where if you do not have those qualifications to help you navigate from A to B, then you're really stuck. And back home where we come from, we know there's always a plan B. Like if you didn't manage to go to campus, there's always a way out. But you come to an environment where you're told, no, for you to navigate from A to B, then you need to have particular grades, and Germans are also very keen on getting good education. So that's where my element has been. And not necessarily that because we get the education that is needed, but I think also that we can operate on the same level with these people, because one of the challenges we have been facing why they don't invite us to the table where we have dialogues is because they feel that we belong to another category. So we are trying to position ourselves to that professional level where we can sit together on the same table. We understand both cultures and discuss the agenda together. So Edith, you being very involved, I've seen you meeting with the ministers from the German government. You have featured on German newspapers. I don't think I've met any other person or other face in the diaspora who is so engaged as you are. You've won several grants to do projects back home. What drives you? What drives you?
I think, first of all, thank you so much for that honor. Well, they're just the minor things that we've achieved so far. I actually look at myself as still aspiring for more, and the minor successes that we celebrate are kind of a motivators to say, yes, it's workable. With every single step you manage as a breakthrough, it simply opens ways to more, because we have not yet seen what we want to see, and we are not yet where we wanted to be. So as long as this dream lives on, we are still going to fight. And I talk in a plural form of we, because it takes one to have a dream. Really, it takes one to have a dream. Someone must be a dream bearer, a flag bearer in all the engagements that we have. But then it takes a community to make this dream come through. It's never about my personal achievements or engagements. If not for the team that accompanies me and people like you that, put a lot of oil and fuel and energy to these dreams, they would really die, because the enabling environment you want are people that back you up and share the same dreams with you. So my inner drive is I have not yet achieved the reason as to why I decided to engage myself. I haven't seen myself being invited on the discussion tables where my voice at the end of the day bears the weight that I want. Yeah, it's not about always just sitting with them. I want to come out of a table and say, okay, my voice has been the decision being taken when it comes to the matters relating to migration, development, cooperation, integration, the inclusion of migrants here in Germany. So I don't want to have a case whereby we call it an alibi participation. Yeah, it's good, it's fancy to be invited to these tables, but I want to see the weight of what I said after the meeting, bearing, that same taste that I attached to it. And therefore, all these platforms that we create are to add this weight to these voices and make sure, yes, tomorrow we look back and say, okay, those days we started when things were very tensed for migrants and, for the African countries. But look at where we are now. This law has been enacted because of our engagements. These fields have been opened because of us. These incentives have now been introduced because of us. So until that is done, I think I'm still going to have more sleepless nights.
Wow. I mean, to me, like, you have really been inspiring me in so many ways. And personally, what I really like about your concept is you decided not to chase this goal alone. Yeah, you have been pulling us together. I remember when you invited us to one of your events and invited people from different African countries. I was just fascinated to see that you are keen on building community so that at least we're able to raise one voice. Yeah, I'm also a community builder because I believe I cannot do everything by myself. Yeah. So you have formed a consortium of different diaspora entities, and you say, no, hey, we discussed 12 points, that these are the 12 points we need to start so that at least they can help us to be on that dialogue table. And these 12 points are supposed to also give let me say the offices here that are bridging our African countries and Germany also a chance to know, hey, where are we? I'm talking about the African embassies that are in Germany, because sometimes we feel like there's a disconnect. Yeah. So take us through about why do you think it's so important about building such strong communities? And then I'll jump into the 12 points so that at least people now can now start warming up for the summit that is upcoming in Berlin. So 2 questions.
Thank you so much. Now, when it comes to building up a community, it's always about networks. It's always about creating an enabling environment. It's enabling environment because, of course, it's not channeled to 100% success. There's never a guarantee of 100% success, but then you can create an enabling environment for this success. Yeah, so it's geared towards the maximization of the potentials we have within the diaspora. You realize we have a lot of engagements. Yeah, we have people that are in the entrepreneurship. We have people that, promoting startups both here and also in our home countries of origin. We have people that are engaged in the politics and policy making. We have people engaged in education, in the researches, and all these engagements are good. But most of the time, you realize that we still belong to a minority. And therefore, in as much as our engagements are good, they are never summed up to a move. It becomes an engagement, a success of one single person. Yeah. So it's like, yes, we are doing a lot together, but in real sense, we don't see that success being summed up to the community. And therefore, we need a kind of coordinated approach such that, let me say, the engine I ignite here today as regarding the policy part, I have someone else that is in the implementation, that is maybe involved in hosting delegations or creating a framework for engagements of maybe the startups on both sides, or startups and investors. You need the other person that is maybe engaged in changing the education system as regarding the history of Africa. You need the other person that is maybe engaged in gender equality and gender fair or sensitive access to the resources and the amenities or the infrastructures we have. So we have really people that are engaged in diverse fields. But if you don't sum all these expertise together, it becomes just, you don't get the kind of recognition or the appreciation for your engagement that it deserves. So we want to have a kind of a coordinated move in which we co-share our ideas and we co-create the content. Mm-hmm. In that form, we increase our visibility. We increase also the appreciation for our successes, because now it's not about AG Career Hub, it's not about Ganf, it's not about Edith or Caroline Mwangi, it's about the African community. Mm-hmm. So this is the pool that the team should bring together, co-share their expertise and their networks, and at the same time, co-create the content. Mm-hmm. Then when it comes to the engagements with the ambassadors, most of the time, you realize we are hustling here alone as the diaspora, when in real sense, we are doing the tasks that the embassies are supposed to be doing. Actually, it's not a diaspora. We are supposed to act under the frameworks that have been laid for us through the embassies, because they are the right bridges. Yeah, they are the right linkages. Now, if they don't channel the path for us, it becomes a challenge. We battle, yeah, as hustlers, yeah, but we need the backup of, they have the country supporting them. They have, the legitimacy of the countries that they're coming from. They have the trust there. With that, your voice is not seen as just your voice as Edith, it's seen as a Kenyan voice. It's seen as a Zimbabwean voice, as a South African voice. And that is what you want to achieve by getting a kind of coordinated approach between the diaspora and the ambassadors. So many of the things, just happen, and you wonder, how can maybe somebody be in such a kind of devastated situation whereby we have the embassies that we ought to fall under. When you have any kind of emergency, you're like, oh, the first person I should report to is the embassy. Yeah, that is what happens when we are in the African countries and anything happens and Germans have to go back. Where do they land first? Oh, get in touch with the embassy. Yeah, contact the embassy. That's what you hear. But does the same thing happen to us Africans that are here in Germany? If you encounter any challenge, is the first stop you think about the embassy? And therefore, it calls for a rethinking of our approach. Why do we have to struggle with so many of these things when the right bridges are there? So it's kind of engaging them to create these interfaces that we need so that our engagements have more impact and are more successful, even as we cooperate with the German institutions. Yes, and then your question of 12 points. Now, most of the time we talk about the challenges, but we lack really a clear line of what are these challenges? What exactly are the challenges? And then after the challenges, the part that is always very essential and crucial is, what are the solutions? Because you don't want to hear a response of, oh, it's very hard, yeah, it's very complicated. And now the 12 points give you a solution. We don't only talk about the problem, we give you the solution, the suggestions for a solution in the matters that are like challenges, because there are the laws, yes. We have all these bylaws, and now there are a lot of reforms that are being taken as regarding migration of skills. But then where does the practical part come in? Where does the field experience come in? The lawmakers are in the offices. Some of them maybe have never even been to any African country. And when we talk of third countries, yeah, third countries are not just Africans. Yes, okay, but then our expertise is in the African country or continent. I hope someone is not going to be irritated when I say African country. Sorry, I'm very sorry about that. Apologies. The African continent. And therefore, we want to really have a kind of evaluation of what are these challenges and what are the solutions. And in a year's time, can we look back and say, these reforms were made? The reforms you're making, are they oriented on the demand? Because our experience is the demand we have daily. Yeah, give us this day our daily bread. This is our daily bread. Give it to us, we'll solve it the way we experience it every day. So it's we as migrants also at some given point, we have to dictate the bylaws. Yeah, you have to come to a point whereby you're not just asking for the funds of, the project's home and how to build up a school. And you need changes in the policy level, because when the policies are put in place, the resources automatically accompany the policies. And therefore, the 12 points really align to all the challenges that we've been having that are kind of hindrance to this effective migration of skills, because there is need, yes, in the German side, they need the migrants. And there is also need in the African side, because we have a high population of unemployed youths that have great potential and very dynamic. We need them to get these opportunities, these perspectives, but we need a fair match that is geared towards mutual goals and that is going to be field-oriented, yes.
Wow. I totally agree. Totally agree. Before we discuss about the upcoming summit, I just want to share two success stories that personally I have encountered. Well, one of them is indirectly not really our success story, but I think the organization saw the benefits of involving Africans in the diaspora in executing the project. And this is the project we do. Most of you know this project. And when they rolled out, the first country was Ghana, then they moved to Cameroon and Togo. And when they were rolling it to Kenya, they did not really find the Kenyan community to roll out the project with. So they put discussions to involve the Cameroonians. And then along the way, the Kenyan Women in Germany organization was founded, and they were able to co-launch Kenya. So what they discovered, because this notion has really been there, that Africa is a country. Africa is, we are all Africans. I should understand what people in Angola think. Yeah, they realized that we are very diverse, and they have to split the mobilization of the diaspora according to the country. And they actually, because we had a lot of discussions with them, they actually saw if you involve Kenyans to mobilize Cameroonians, it will not work. And secondly, because we understand our cultures better, we know our people better on the ground. So there was this like classifying and saying, hey, look, this is a project for Zimbabwe. Let's involve Zimbabweans in this project. And I think that is what you're trying to do. Like we have representatives from as many countries as possible and push for this agenda together. The second success story, which I'm very much involved, is the AG Career Hub facilitated a partnership between Germany and a Kenyan university. And during the discussion, the brainstorming session of where do we start, we kicked on the topic of labor and shortage of labor. But, the German team that was involved, they had no clue where to start. So they said the only way to make this work, or to kick the jumpstart, is to involve Kenyans in the diaspora. Yeah. And that is what helped in, like building the concept. I remember one of the team members involved, he said, if I did not have these Kenyans in the diaspora, we would have made very wrong decisions. So I think this is the voice that they need to hear as we meet in Berlin and see, oh, we really need to involve as many as possible. So why should we come to Berlin? And when should we come to Berlin?
I start with when you ought to come to Berlin. Come to Berlin on 24th of February 2023. That is in 2 weeks' time, or less than 2 weeks' time. The program is starting from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we want to actually give a close touch to all these details that are of challenge to us, because one thing I wish to see in our Africans and our diaspora is, this urge for change, because most of the time we find that it's much easier to approach AG Career Hub, that I have this challenge, or these policies are so complicated, and we have actually no space, or that's quite unfair and not realistic. But then we lack the commitment towards pushing those policies, So I would really wish, yes, this summit is just but one of the many engagements, maybe by different institutions, but I would request that whenever you have really an opportunity to air out your voice, take that opportunity and do it. And don't say, with me, I have studied, I have a job, I have traveled back home, or I'm not even in Germany. We try to hold these forums as open as possible. Most of the time, we come from the background where, I think, Carol, you can relate to this. It was even hard to say you were invited to any discussion table within your locality. It was hard to get this recognition. But now here's a case whereby we lay the platform, define the framework and the setup, and then invite, meaning we have it in the hand. to open our forums as much as possible. And this is what we try to be as inclusive as possible. So here's a case whereby even if you are still in the countries of origin, like those African countries, and you're planning to come, you already have a direct influence in the frameworks that would govern your decision making, whether to come or not, and also govern your decision making as regarding how long you want to stay in Germany or when do you decide to go back. Because we are going to tackle like the questions about how attractive can we make Germany as regarding the migration of skills? How can we attract this external labor, these foreigners, to come to our country, not where do they need us? We have now restructured it to, yes, we need them. And how can we attract them? How can we make a favorable situation for them so that they would decide to actively make this decision to come to our country? And how can we have a kind of welcoming culture within us in Germany that can accommodate this kind of diversity that we're having? How can we influence their decisions when it comes to maybe residing longer in Germany instead of again relocating back to their home countries? How can we create enabling environment for them when they probably want to transfer these skills back to their countries of origin and they want to maybe move in between? We have, for example, just an example, the visa regulation that as long as you have this, this unlimited stay in Germany, if you leave Germany for like a period of 6 months, you lose your title. Why do we have such kind of regulations? We have to pose these questions. What is the essence of having this kind of regulations? Why must I be limited to Germany, yet I could be of, positive resource in my own home country? I could contribute to brain circulation instead of the brain drain. And how can we also channel these brain drains? Because somebody would be like, yeah, why do you advertise for our sweet brains, our brave minds going to Germany? It's like we don't need them. No, it's, yes, we want to discuss this with you. What are the frameworks that need to be created or put in place such that we can have these same people coming to Germany, still transferring the same know-how back home, whether going back directly or cooperating virtually? How can we still enable them, make this know-how available to their home countries? What incentives need to be created for such kind of frameworks or operations? When we talk of you like coming for with a visa search of like 6 months, how realistic is it that someone is integrated in the job market within 6 months? So we have really a vast framework of discussion that needs really your voice and my voice, so that it's not about Edith, it's not about Carol. For that matter, we have found our foundation, yes, but we need this dialogue with you. And the dialogue is between the diaspora, is between those who are still considering to come to Germany. It's also involving the African ambassadors. It's involving the federal ministries, the German federal ministries for that matter. It's involving the private sector as well. We want to discuss really all these questions, like the language requirements or the language demand. At what level does it make sense? The approvals and all the visa regulations and the requirements. So it's really a deep discussion. That's why we gave it a good time, so that we are not under time pressure with 1 or 2 hours from 11 to 5 p.m. And thereafter, we still have a networking for those that would be there on ground in presence.
Wow. That is why we decided to host this session in the evening, on a Sunday evening. We won't keep you for so long, just to motivate you to attend the event. Yeah. And as Edith said, there's so much that is happening. There are so many ideas that are being executed, and we all have a role to play. We have people who are very good in engaging communities or integration. And among all what is happening, at the end of the day, is about retention, is about integration. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research about like hiring foreign skills from outside, especially in the nursing sector, just for me to have an idea. And one of the biggest problems is integration, because these people come here, they are not well equipped about how systems function here. That disconnect is there. So of course the retention is very low. So everyone has a role to play. So let's meet in Berlin, come, hear your voice, be part of the discussion, and let them see that we are there. Most of these events, we do not attend this event. So we need to change that mindset. Let's attend these events and raise our voices.
Of course.
Yeah.
I can only maybe put more emphasis on that, really. We need to be seen. Confront those situations that you think are not favorable or in your favor. Confront them actively. Let it not be like, oh, okay, it doesn't affect me directly. It does for sure. And therefore, that's why people like us, even though we are not searching for jobs or applying for visas anymore, we still know that this affects us directly because maybe to one extent it would be a visa thing, but to another it affects the narrative as well. It could affect maybe the fields under which you operate within your social engagements. It could affect the social impact you want to create in your home countries. It could affect the future of your kids as well. Or your relatives that still make the same decisions of whether to come or not. It affects your country, yeah, because it's you representing your country in Germany, yeah? And therefore this brain that leaves Africa is also a minus, a deficit to your home country. So let's really team up together and let's talk about all these big agendas together. So I think this is just but one of the many things that we are going to talk about in future. Thank God this crossed my mind. It's not just about the migration of skills. We are laying a good foundation that is going to gear towards all these big agendas rotating around development cooperation, integration, migration. We are going to discuss all these big things together. So when you talk about education and the fair access to education, to the infrastructures and facilities, fair social security also in the countries of origin, when you talk about stability, even in the government, it takes also you and I to make these systems stable. So there is a lot to discuss about. And I think gone are those days when we just got engaged because of our own personal issues that affect us. Now we are to the policies that affect the frameworks under which we operate, that affect our being here, that affect our countries back home, that affect our German African engagement. So I can only appeal to you as much as you can, make attempts to attend. And if it doesn't actually work at all, join online.
Wow, thank you so much. I think we can close the discussion so that we can leave room for Neugier, like people can say, I want to be part of the change.
I see Jackie raising a hand.
Okay.
Is that a question?
I wanted to stop the live streaming so that we can have the Q&A session, and then I'll close the meeting towards the end. So thank you so much. And